steps from the Capitol in Cheyenne with reporters in your hometown. These are the top stories from the Cowboy State Daily News Center.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Friday, December 19th. I'm Mac Watson. Wyoming Attorney General Keith Couts told Cowboy State Daily on Thursday he's appealing a ruling that voided a wind lease on state lands. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that how language is interpreted in this case is one of the key components.
He said it's a bigger issue about how we read language across Wyoming's contracts, laws, rules, where when you have this is the definition, including this, and this, Couts said that word including should broaden the definition by lumping other things into it. Whereas the ruling out of Converse County District Court said including means it has to include that thing. And so Couts said, honestly, the way we read language in Wyoming is at stake and I have to appeal this.
Converse County District Court Judge Scott Peasley on December 5th struck down the Wyoming Board of Land Commissioners' approval of the lease. The 144-mile-an-hour wind gust on Mount Coffin in Lincoln County on Wednesday appears to be the strongest wind gust ever recorded in the state of Wyoming. But Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi reports that if there's a wind gust in the mountains and no one's there to feel it, does it really set a record for the strongest wind in Wyoming?
The highest wind gusts ever recorded in central and western Wyoming was a gust of 165 miles per hour, also on Mount Coffin. It's a little hard to say if that's the ultimate state record holder because wind records aren't kept as meticulously as temperature records or anything like that. You've got different sensors made by different companies in different places that can skew and make it harder to verify the readings, but nobody's denying the veracity that there was a 144 mile per hour wind gust on Mount Coffin on Wednesday.
At over 11,000 feet, Mount Coffin is the second tallest peak in the Wyoming range. It's also gained a reputation as notoriously windy, with gusts over 120 miles an hour recorded there last winter. For the second time in as many years, a bipartisan coalition introduced a bill in the U.S. House to ban using snowmobiles to run over wolves and other predators on federal lands. Outdoors reporter Mark Hines reports if the bill passes, it would only affect certain parts of Wyoming.
If this bill gains traction and it makes it through Congress and it passes and President Trump signs it into law, it would apply to federal land. It would not affect the practice one way or the other on state-controlled land or private property. It would just be federal land. Of course, there's quite a bit of that in Wyoming. Most of the time when people are spending time outdoors here, they're on land that's controlled by the Bureau of Land Management or the Forest Service.
The Snowmobiles Aren't Weapons Act, or SAW, introduced on Thursday, was inspired by a February 2024 incident near Daniel, Wyoming, when local resident Cody Roberts allegedly ran down a wolf with a snowmobile, captured and abused it before killing it behind the Green River Bar in Daniel. Families scrambled to evacuate themselves and their pets after 70-mile-an-hour winds sparked a fire south of Cheyenne on Wednesday night, threatening two subdivisions. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that many residents were caught off guard and unprepared.
People just had to suddenly flee. People forgot medications. They walked out the door without coats. They left their dog leashes behind. Most of the time they had their cell phones with them. I think it had everybody thinking, what do I need to do better next time? Because if this happens again, they now see you don't have any time to think about it. You don't have any time to prepare.
Laramie County Fire District No. 1 Chief of Operations, George Marcotte, tells Cowboy State Daily that getting the fire under control took the 100 or so firefighters around 30 to 45 minutes, but it was another couple of hours of effort before the situation was safe enough for civilians to return to their homes. I'll be back with more news from the Cowboy State Daily News Center right after this.
Wyoming runs on community, and it's powered by people like you. Know someone who always steps up? Nominate them for the Governor's Spirit of Service Award presented by Serve Wyoming and Governor Mark Gordon. Let's celebrate the volunteers who make a difference every single day. Head to servewyoming.org to nominate a local hero today.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. President Donald Trump took steps on Thursday toward downgrading pot in its federal classification, saying more people should have access to medical marijuana. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that the move could push Wyoming to do the same.
So Trump is saying, hey, let's move marijuana from 1 to 3. That way we can research and potentially expand medical access to it. And what Wyoming has in our laws, we have a trigger that says, okay, if the feds change their schedule, we got to change our schedule, or our attorney general has to give a reason why he won't and hold a hearing and then make his decision.
Now, if the Trump administration completes all the steps to move marijuana from Schedule 1, where it's now categorized, to Schedule 3, it would start a 30-day clock for Wyoming to either do the same or to give a reason why it won't. New U.S. Wildlife Chief Brian Nesvik told Cowboy State Daily on Thursday that it could take another 2 years to work through an analysis of the data on grizzly bears and reach a final decision regarding delisting. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines spoke to Director Nesvik and reports that there's more than just removing an animal off the endangered species list.
He said probably sometime within the next couple years or so, they're going to be able to go through their final analysis of all the science and data that's been collected and come to some sort of decision. They seem to be kind of tracking towards delisting, but he said if and when that happens, it could take different forms. Like it might be such a thing that grizzlies are delisted in some areas and not in others.
Grizzlies once roamed across a vast swath of North America. By the early 1970s, they'd been all but killed off in the lower 48 and pushed back into a tiny patch of habitat, mostly in or near Yellowstone National Park. A mold-infested Casper home with a failing foundation, once owned by a former councilman, is headed to auction with no inspections allowed. Cowboy State Daily's Dale Killingbeck reports that the former owners of the home have taken to social media and are warning bidders it could be a financial and health disaster.
The ex-owners, the people that left the house, they posted on social media warning people, do not bid for this house. This is a house from hell. That's what the post said. The whole concern is that somebody else is going to buy this house, think they're getting a deal or a great fixer-upper, and instead they're going to lose their shirt like the couple who owned the house before them did.
The house, which can be found on the Zillow website, appears to be listed under a real estate auction site, which states that the starting bid is, quote, coming soon, unquote. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting that daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel or listen to us on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.